So today we're diving into something pretty radical in the world of mental health. We're looking at a super complex supplement protocol that's designed to go where conventional medicine sometimes can't. But here's the twist. Depending on who you are, it could be a massive breakthrough, or it could be a straight-up poison. The deciding factor? It's literally written in your DNA. Let's get into it.
So here's the big question, the one that got our attention. Can a cocktail of more than 32 different nutrients, vitamins, and some really potent herbs actually take the place of standard antipsychotic medications, the kind that have been the go-to for decades? Well, the answer is way more complicated than just a simple yes or no.
Okay, so to really get this, you have to understand the fundamental difference in approach. The conventional way, right, is to use meds that block dopamine receptors. The goal is to put a lid on symptoms like hallucinations. This protocol, though, it takes a completely different road. It's aiming to fix what it sees as the root causes, things going on deep under the hood like brain inflammation, broken cellular power plants, and just fundamental chemical imbalances.
All right, here's our game plan to unpack all this. We're going to start at this new crossroads in treatment. Then, we'll break down the massive 32-ingredient protocol itself. From there, we hit the really juicy part, the dopamine paradox. We'll see how your own genetics are the key, uncover a hidden cascade of interactions, and then land on the big, precision takeaway.
So, you might be asking, why even bother with something this complicated? And that's a fair question. The answer, really, is because the standard tools we've been relying on for more than half a century have some pretty significant limitations.
Look, standard antipsychotics can be lifesavers when it comes to managing the positive symptoms we often hear about, but they often don't do much for the negative ones, that crushing inability to feel pleasure or find motivation. And all this comes with a heavy price tag. The risk of severe side effects is no secret, from permanent movement disorders and metabolic chaos all the way to concerns about brain volume loss with long-term use.
So, seeing those drawbacks, this protocol was born. It wasn't designed as one magic bullet. Think of it more like a comprehensive, multi-pronged assault on the underlying biology that's thought to be driving the condition.
And when I say comprehensive, I mean it. We're talking about a foundation of over 32 core ingredients. This is not your average multivitamin. It is a massive list of very specific compounds, each with a specific job. And that number doesn't even count the 3 real heavy hitters, the powerful herbal agents we're about to get to.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. This just sounds like throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. But it's not. Each piece is there for a reason, targeting these fundamental systems that research points to again and again. The little power plants in your cells, chronic inflammation in the brain, corrosive oxidative stress, and the delicate cycles that build your brain chemicals.
Okay, and this is where the story takes a sharp turn. This is where things get really dramatic, because right at the heart of this protocol, there is a giant, high-stakes contradiction, a central conflict that defines both its incredible potential and its very real danger.
All right, let's meet our first major player in what we're calling the Big Three, Sjilajit. It's this complex, natural substance known for revving up your cellular engines, your mitochondria. But here's the kicker for our story. Studies show it also ramps up dopamine levels in important parts of the brain.
Player number 2 is an herb called Tribulus terrestris. Now, this stuff contains compounds that are powerful inhibitors of an enzyme called MAO. Think of MAO as one of the brain's main janitors for cleaning up neurotransmitters. Tribulus basically tells that janitor to take a long break, which means serotonin, norepinephrine, and, most importantly for us, dopamine stick around for much longer.
And boom, right here, this table lays it all out in black and white. This is the paradox. Conventional antipsychotics work by blocking dopamine. Their whole reason for existing is to reduce its effects. And yet, 2 of the key herbs in this protocol do the exact opposite. They effectively boost dopamine. These 2 approaches are in a head-to-head pharmacological fight, which begs the question, how on earth could this possibly be safe?
Well, the answer to that life or death question, it's not in the supplements at all. It's inside you. It's in your personal genetic code. Your DNA holds the key that unlocks whether this dopamine boost is a helpful medicine or a dangerous poison. So to unpack this, we need to talk about one specific gene. It's called COMT. You can think of it as the manager of your brain's dopamine cleanup crew. Now, there are 2 main versions. If you've got the warrior genotype, your cleanup crew works at lightning speed. Dopamine gets cleared out super fast. But if you have the warrior genotype, your crew is kind of slow. They take their time, so dopamine hangs around a lot longer. And here is where the rubber meets the road.
This table shows you exactly what that means in the real world. For a warrior who clears dopamine quickly, adding these herbs might actually be helpful. It could give them a much-needed boost. But for a warrior whose system is already slow to clear dopamine, adding more fuel to that fire could be a recipe for disaster. It could lead to a dangerous buildup, potentially triggering psychosis. For them, this part of the protocol is an absolute no-go, strictly contraindicated.
And listen, it's not just about that one COMT gene. That's the main character for sure, but there's a whole supporting cast. You've also got to look at MTHFR, which helps build your neurotransmitters in the first place. You need to know your MAO-A gene status. And then there's the whole family of CYP450 enzymes. That's your body's main engine for metabolizing drugs, and variations there can change everything.
So you've got the huge genetic piece of the puzzle, but there's another layer of danger here, and it's all about interactions. It's not just what one ingredient does. It's the cascade of effects that happens when you mix all these bioactive things together at once.
Take bleeding risk, for example. On its own, a little omega-3 fish oil, no big deal, right? Same with turmeric or vitamin E. But when you start stacking them, one after another, like this protocol does, you're creating a potent, cumulative blood-thinning effect that could become a real problem.
But you know what? There might be an even bigger, more hidden danger. And it's what the source material calls the drug interaction trap. This is especially critical for anyone thinking about tapering off a prescription medication. Turns out, some of the herbs in this protocol are powerful blockers of those same liver enzymes we just mentioned.
Okay, I really need you to pay attention here, because this is a huge safety warning. Imagine you're carefully lowering your dose of an antipsychotic. At the very same time, you start taking something like berberine or rhodiola from the protocol. Well, that herb can slam the brakes on the very enzyme system your body uses to clear that drug. What happens? The drug level in your blood can shoot up to toxic levels. You could effectively overdose even though you thought you were taking less. This is an incredibly dangerous hidden trap.
So, after all that, what is the ultimate takeaway here? If there is one single thing to remember from this entire breakdown, it is this. This is absolutely, under no circumstances, do-it-yourself biohacking.
You know, the analysis we're drawing from puts it perfectly. It says, the protocol's potential for recovery, rather than mere symptom suppression, is profound, but it must be managed with surgical precision. That says it all. The potential is huge, but the risks are just as big, and it demands expert-level precision.
Based on that, a very clear roadmap to safety emerges. And these aren't suggestions, they're non-negotiables. First, genetic screening is mandatory. You have to know your COMT, MTHFR, and MAO-A status. Second, you need functional lab tests to check for other imbalances. Third, you start only with the safe core, the stuff that supports your mitochondria and cools inflammation. And only then, very cautiously, if the genetics are favorable, do you even think about adding the risky dopamine-boosting agents.
And all of this really leaves us with one massive, thought-provoking question for the future. Is this incredibly complex, highly challenging, but deeply personal approach a glimpse of what's to come for psychiatry? Are we seeing the beginning of a shift away from a one-pill-fits-all model and toward these intricate, genetically guided roadmaps tailored to each person's unique biology? That really is the big question on the horizon.